Somebody who is not relaxing is White Pine County School Superintendent Adam Young, who has been so very, very busy. The first thing I want us to start off on a highly positive note. You've had meetings with the state about getting the funding for the 2 new schools. Tell us the good news.
Yeah, good morning, Wyatt. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
We did. We recently met with the Nevada Governor's Office of Finance. They've received our application for the Assembly Bill 224 funds. They've been very pleased with that application, and we are the only school district who has submitted an application. So that's great news. The next step in the process is we'll meet with the Treasurer's Office along with the Governor's Finance Office within the next couple of weeks to discuss a timeline for issuing the bonds that will fund the money that goes into this AB 224. Which we hope to have done very, very soon. And then we're already actually convening a community committee to meet with our pre-design team and the architect to kind of get a scope and a conceptual design of what this campus is going to look like. That'll continue over the next month or so. And as soon as we have word on the issuance of the bonds, then we'll go through the public bidding process to enlist construction manager at risk. And we'll be down the road.
And location set, land set, so all that stuff is done.
Yeah, we have several sites available, Wyatt, but that location has not been finalized yet, and it won't be until we go through the rest of this pre-design process with the architect, and then we'll select the site that best matches what that conceptual design is.
Great. Well, at least we're on the road. We're further now than we were the last time we talked and the time before that. So the progress is being made, and that's the most important thing.
It's very exciting, life-changing, community-changing type of a project for this county. It's really great.
Now, earlier this week, the numbers came out from the Nevada Department of Education, the 5-star ratings every year. And I guess the best news that we see is that things have ticked up statewide. We see that the numbers in White Pine County look good for some schools, not so good from other schools. But we are seeing progress in the county and that things are getting better and better.
Yeah, this report is one way to look at schools. It can be informative. My criticism of the report is that it can be very kind of singular and sometimes a little bit misleading because it doesn't capture all of the complexities that go into creating a good school environment. With that being said, yes, we have progress that's being made locally, both in the star rating, if you want to look at it that way, but in many, many other initiatives that we've been working on for years and that don't necessarily show up in that star rating.
I mean, White Pine High School 5 stars, Lund High School 4 stars and 3. The numbers all look pretty good. The elementary schools not as good. How much of that will improve after the facility improvements happen?
It's a good question. There's a lot of research that does tie student achievement to the kind of amenities, I suppose you could say, that exist on a campus, and kind of that quality of environment. So I think it's fair to say that there will be some improvement there, but I don't want to overlook or minimize the great work that our elementary teachers do. You can't have a high-achieving high school without the great work that goes on as a foundation at the early levels and at the middle school level. Just one example of that, our early literacy rate continues to climb based on the governor's Read by 3 legislation, which, again, there are pros and cons to that, but I think it's fair to say that everybody believes that a priority of elementary schools is to help students become great readers. And so not only in this report that you referenced, but also in our internal measures and a number of other measures that are utilized by the state but don't necessarily feed into the star ratings, our local students are really making a lot of progress, and that's a credit to obviously to them and their families, but also especially to our teachers who just work so hard to try to make that happen.
I've got to ask you this because it has been something that has been there's been a lot of conversation about it. Are schools helped or hindered by as much government oversight as we have seen, not just by the state but by the federal government over the past 3 years? Can that be a hindrance more than a help sometimes?
Boy,
you're only here for another year. You're only here for another year. You can say it.
I think that a lot of people, the buzzword is accountability, not just in education, but in government in general. And, we need to be accountable to the taxpayer, and I don't have any arguments about that. I think, though, the best systems of accountability that I've seen are reciprocal. In other words, they flow in multiple directions. So, for example, if there's regulations that are going to require a superintendent or a board or a principal or a teacher to be fired because their test scores haven't reached a certain level, where does the accountability exist for the family support to try to get that test score to a certain level? And furthermore, is a singular test score the right metric to be used? And then, even more importantly, there is a thing as a teacher shortage.
Yes.
And everybody that I talk to, certainly people complain about educators here and there, and yet nobody really wants to do the job. So if you get into a situation where the accountability is moving people out of certain positions because of poor policy, exactly who are those people going to be replaced by? And then what happens to the system when there's literally not enough people who want to do the job? So.
There are so many people who want to talk about the job the schools do. They forget that it's not just the schools, it's the parents, it's the environment. And, when we look at the fact that we have shortages of teachers, we have shortages of law enforcement officers, we have shortages of people in public safety, it is just horrible to blame those few people who are sticking it out and keeping things happening for the crisis that we're in today.
Well, amen. I feel that exact same way. My philosophy has always been, we go to war with the army that we have. We build up, we hire the best that we can. We all have strengths and weaknesses as educators, as well as humans. Like, I haven't met many perfect people over the course of my life. And so we hire good people. We coach them up the best that we can. We try to rely on their strengths and address the deficiencies when necessary. And to be frank, Wyatt, that's the same approach that we use with our students, which is why I personally get a little bit fired up when people look at, for example, test scores as the only thing that factors into a star rating, because there's just so much more to it.
There is so much to do with it, and we could spend another hour talking about this, but as you hear, the clock has got us again. Dr. Adam Young, soon to be former superintendent here at White Pine County Schools, but he will always be in our heart. Thank you for coming by this morning.